So this is going to be a cold one today because it is a nippy, I think it's like 16 degrees or something like that. But we're going to get started here. Good morning, Elmira, specifically West Elmira. This is the Castle on the Glen. I'm JD Isles, and of course, this is Hidden Landmarks Live. This is the live local history show that I do every Friday morning at 9 a.m. And this is local West Elmira history. So where am I? I'm at 320 Glen Avenue right now. I'm at a home that has been here since roughly 1930, actually built in 1927. Beautiful Tudor home, which I'm going to take you on a tour of. But of course, we're going to do the history of, but currently it is used as an Airbnb. So this is actually a place you can come and stay for a little getaway. It has some amazing, cool features that I want to show you. I'm going to include all of the links to information about the castle, in the comments. But I kind of just want to show you around the outside before I go inside, because it's freezing. So one of the interesting features about this part of Glen Avenue in West Elmira is a river runs through it, which means this property has not one, but two little bridges. Now, believe it or not, or it's probably easy to believe, this kind of feature is problematic when there are big rains. And if you go through the newspaper accounts, about every 10 years, there is a flooding problem. And I know, they had a lot of water come through here about 6 years ago. Now, I do want to show you that the only problem is with the little river, because the house sits well above it. But there was a flash flood here back in August 16th of 1942, and it seems like every once in a while we have these big rains. But it's charming to be able to come across a drawbridge. That's not a drawbridge, JD. To come across a bridge and kind of see something that looks like a fairy tale castle. Now I'm going to do the history in a second as I walk you through the house, but I also want to show you the neat thing about this location is you're right in back of Elmira Country Club as well. So if you're any kind of golfer, so here's the country club. If you're any kind of golfer, this would be a great place to stay. I know that they have had people stay here for weddings. I know that people have stayed here for special occasions. It's a really cool property. So, all right, so now we're inside. Thank goodness. And let me kind of show you first impressions of the property as you come in. As I mentioned, this is a Tudor home. This was originally built in 1927, give or take, and amazing craftsmanship and woodwork. I mean, we've got hand-hewn beams up here. Beautiful rock fireplace. And Kitty, who is the proprietor, has really done a great job on keeping the castle theming consistent throughout. So this is obviously our living room. It comes into a great dining room right here. And then we actually have a kitchen that probably looks very similar to the way it did back when the home was originally built. So I'll take you through the rest of the house in a second, but let's talk about the originally built that I talked about. So we believe it was built in, let me get a good backdrop here. We believe it was built in 1927. We believe that Frank B. Reynolds is the person who had the home built, probably for his new bride. Frank B. Reynolds, his middle name was Brundage, in case you were wondering. He went to Belafonte Academy, which is, of course, finishing school in Belafonte, Pennsylvania, and also was educated at Alabama University. He had a variety of jobs throughout his career, and his career was sales. He was salesman's salesman, but one of his best ventures, and the venture he is known for the most here in Elmira, is founding or co-founding the Delaney Reynolds Fuel Oil Company. Now, they did a variety of things. These were back in the day when all of Elmira would have been heated with fuel oil. Of course, now it's natural gas. But they sold furnaces, they sold refrigerators, which back in the day, that's what you did. And this is actually a company that was in existence, I think, just about up until the flood of '72. The company was located on 158 West 3rd Street, which is where the roundabout is, just before the college, where the McDonald's is. Basically in that neighborhood. Some other things that he did, he was actually the manager of the Eclipse Machine Division of Bendix Aviation, which was in Elmira Heights, and they had a big role during the war effort. Now, I said this house was probably built for his bride. The bride we're talking about, of course, is Dolores Jean. Dolores Jean graduated Elmira College in 1930. They were married on October 20th, 1930. So he grabbed her right out of college, guys. And then after a motor trip down south, they settled here. As they say in the newspapers, they are now at home here on Glen Avenue. You know, this was a very different period for newspapers, when the local news was really what everybody was up to. And usually we're talking about the upper classes, but a lot of times they would mention this family went on a vacation to the New Jersey coast. This person's son just came back from college. So it was very common for the goings-on of everyone to kind of be talked about in the newspapers, which is great for research, fantastic for research. Now, one of the other things that I found here is Dolores Jean. This was in the paper, I think, right around 1931 or 32. So she would have just settled in this house, in this kitchen. And here she is in an ad. This is an ad in the Star Gazette for Nucoa margarine. Now, this seems a little bit odd unless you know about the way advertising was done back in the day in newspapers. Hold on one second. So, you know, the way they did a lot of advertising, especially for household products, is national companies, and Nucoa was a national margarine company. They started in 1917. They were big. They would do a search throughout cities throughout the United States, and they would essentially pick, like, I'm going to call it a Nucoa girl. So the margarine princess of Elmira is what we're talking about. And she would become part of the advertising campaign in the Southern Tier or the Twin Tiers. And, you know, this margarine princess, who coincidentally lived in a castle, was Mrs. Frank B. Reynolds, Dolores Jean. Now the other interesting thing about margarine, you know, the basic ingredient for Nucoa margarine was coconut oil. That's not the interesting part. The interesting part was, you know, if you make a margarine product out of coconut oil, it's not going to look like butter. And the thing everyone wanted back then was, well, it's fine if I use margarine, just don't tell my guests, because this was early in the margarine process, and I don't want it to look like anything but butter. So they actually included in the Nucoa package a little bean, soft material that you could mix into the margarine so that it would resemble butter. And I mean, I want to know what was in that bean. That is the thing I would be a little bit worried about. You know, the other thing I found that was interesting, again, you know, talking about the Reynolds family, who only lived here for about 10 years. And then Frank had another opportunity in, let me just get it here. He got another opportunity in Cold Spring Harbor, New York. So they moved in 1947. So I take it back. They were here for about 17 years. They were here for 17 years. So the other thing that I found that was very interesting, let's just flip here. So here is Frank Jr. Frank Jr. Had some medical problems in his infancy. He had what was called infantile paralysis, which basically meant he had trouble walking. You can kind of think Forrest Gump in the beginning. He was all set around the age of 4, and he was able to come home finally. He was up in Ithaca. And the way the Star Gazette kind of handled this story was they basically published a letter to Santa informing Kris Kringle that if he had any presents for Frank Jr. that year, he will not be taking them up to the hospital. He could actually deliver them to 320 Glen for the first time. And I mean, that is an adorable story. So we're going to go upstairs here and just kind of give you a view of the rest of this charming house, but also what it would be like if you were a guest here. And I mean, this house is just Tudor all day. And it has a lot of interesting quirks, just like I do. So there is a scavenger hunt in the house that guests can do, and this actually figures heavily in the scavenger hunt. I mean, this is just charming. This is actually the access to the pipes to the bathroom, but I love this level of detail, and this is something that the current owners did. So up top here, we have 3 bedrooms. Here's bedroom number 1. Overlooks the golf course. Then we've got a second bedroom. This is a great bedroom. Lots of space, great views out the windows. I absolutely love it. And then we've got bedroom number 3. And this is the one you can pretty much lay in bed and watch them play golf just about all day. Now, one of the things that I'm told is an essential part of the Castle on the Glen experience is costumes. So the closets here are loaded with costumes. So if you're feeling a little crazy, you can shimmy into one of these. And I mean, I'll show you here. We've got closets full of costumes, which I think would be incredibly fun. I mean, if you're getting away for the weekend, you should be able to dress up like a knight in shining armor, especially if you're staying in a castle, I think. So I wanted to basically give you an idea of, you know, what the Castle on the Glen looked like. This is a place you can come stay. So, you know, I'm more than happy to support people that take a beautiful piece of architecture like this that has a fantastic story and has, you know, the stories of 4 or 5 families that have lived here over the years, and preserve it and also make it something that they can share with others. Just love it. Castle on the Glen. If you want information, feel free to reach out to me. I'm also going to have all the links I can in the comments. I hope everybody has a fantastic weekend. Everyone stay warm, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.